Did you know, while Americans, Brits, and Canadians are out here thinking the world loves their funny accents, big tips, and obsession with Starbucks, some countries are silently saying, please, just don't. That's right, not everyone is throwing rose petals when you land. In fact, some places see tourists from the US, UK, and Canada the way you see that one loud uncle at Christmas dinner, you know, the one who won't stop talking about crypto. So today, we're breaking down 10 countries that secretly don't like tourists from the US, UK and Canada. And trust me, some of these will shock you harder than seeing the price of eggs in 2025. Let's dive in. First up, France. Oh la la. Land of baguettes, wine, and a subtle talent for making you feel unwelcome. Americans? Too loud. Brits? Too many drunken stag parties. Canadians? Too polite. Yes, even politeness annoys the French when it comes with a maple syrup accent. Don't get me wrong, France loves your tourist money. But your insistence on asking for ketchup with escargot? That's a war crime. Fun fact, surveys show Paris is one of the most complained about cities for tourist rudeness, on both sides. Tourists complain the French are rude, and the French complain the tourists exist. And if you thought French side-eye was bad, wait until you meet a country where locals see tourists from the US, UK, and Canada as walking, talking cash machines. Guess where? Welcome to Thailand, the backpacker's paradise, and the locals' headache. Why the hate? Simple, over-tourism. Brits show up for cheap beer buckets, Americans for Instagram temples, and Canadians, well, they try to blend in but fail when they start apologizing to stray cats. In tourist-heavy spots like Phuket and Bangkok, locals often complain Westerners treat the country like an amusement park, no respect for culture, temples, or the environment. Reality check. The Thai government has literally shut down beaches because tourists couldn't stop trashing them. Congratulations, you annoyed Mother Nature and the locals. But if Thailand sees you as a party crasher, our next country sees you as an entitled guest overstaying their welcome. And oh boy, they are not subtle about it. Japan. Land of sushi, anime, and politeness so sharp it can cut glass. But here's the twist, beneath the bowing and the arigato, there's tourist fatigue brewing. Americans? Too loud on the subway. Brits? Too drunk in karaoke bars. Canadians? Well, actually, Japan doesn't dislike Canadians as much, but being lumped in with your louder cousins doesn't help. The problem? Japan prides itself on order and respect. Tourists snapping selfies in sacred shrines, eating while walking, a cultural no-no, or blocking traffic with giant suitcases, yeah, it grates on locals. True story, Kyoto residents launched campaigns begging tourists to stop misbehaving in geisha districts. Imagine being so fed up you start printing tourist etiquette pamphlets. From Japan's quiet frustration, we jet to a place where the dislike is a lot less subtle, and involves actual protests against tourists. Buckle up. Spain. Flamenco, tapas, beaches, and banners that literally read "Tourists go home." No, I'm not joking. Locals in Barcelona and Mallorca have marched in the streets against mass tourism. Who's to blame? Brits stumbling through beach towns at 3 a.m. Americans demanding iced coffee everywhere. Canadians, actually, Spain doesn't really notice Canadians, so congrats, you blend in. But the truth is, the housing market is being wrecked by short-term rentals for tourists. Locals can't afford to live in their own neighborhoods. So when they say, tourists go home, it's less about hating you personally, and more about hating what mass tourism does to their lives. Still, the side-eye is real. And if you thought being told to go home was harsh, wait until you hear how another country literally banned entire flights because of Western tourists. Yep, it gets that real. Italy, home of pasta, gelato, and locals who are so done with tourists ruining history. Americans carving initials into the Colosseum? Check. Brits jumping into Venice canals? Double check. Canadians, feeding pigeons in Piazza San Marco despite the "do not feed" signs? Guilty. Italians love their culture, and hate watching it get trampled by clueless tourists. In fact, Venice considered charging entry fees just to manage the chaos. Fun fact, in Florence, locals once hosed down church steps with water so tourists wouldn't sit for selfies. That's some next-level passive aggression. From Italy's watery canals, let's slide over to a country where the dislike isn't about history or culture, but about tourists treating the locals like zoo exhibits. Welcome to Kenya, safari capital of the world. Stunning wildlife? Yes. Warm hospitality? Absolutely. But, there's a dark side to how tourists behave. Many Western tourists treat safaris like they're watching a live-action Lion King. Loud, intrusive, sometimes even harassing guides for the perfect shot. Locals complain about being exoticized, photographed like they're part of the scenery, not people. It's not, "we hate you," it's, "we hate how you treat us." From African savannas, let's head to a country that literally started limiting tourist numbers because they were that sick of Westerners overrunning their cities. Croatia, Adriatic beauty, Game of Thrones backdrop, and now, tourist overload central. Dubrovnik had to cap cruise ship arrivals because old town streets turned into human traffic jams. Americans, Brits, Canadians, you all flock here, but locals complain the city feels more like Disneyland than a home. Rising rents, clogged streets, drunk tourists in medieval alleys, it's a love-hate relationship. Reality check, they want your money, but they want their city back, too. And speaking of wanting cities back, our next country's locals don't just grumble, they've openly campaigned for a tourist detox. Guess where? Iceland. Gorgeous landscapes, northern lights, hot springs, and one big tourist problem, people not respecting nature. Americans wandering off trails, Brits driving where they shouldn't, Canadians camping illegally. Locals have had enough. The irony? Iceland's tourism boom literally saved its economy after the 2008 crash, but now, locals complain it's unsustainable. Like, thanks for saving us, but please stop peeing on the moss. And if Iceland's problem is nature, the next country's issue is cultural clashes. Let's just say not everyone appreciates the "I'm a free spirit" tourist energy. India, spicy food, Bollywood, Taj Mahal, and a complicated relationship with Western tourists. On one hand, tourists bring money. On the other, locals often complain about disrespect for religious sites, clueless bargaining, and cultural insensitivity. Americans are seen as pushy, Brits, well, colonial baggage doesn't help, and Canadians? Mostly fine, but sometimes lumped into the same Western tourist bucket. True story, several temples now restrict tourist access because of inappropriate behavior. Yikes. And now, the grand finale. A country that doesn't just secretly dislike tourists, sometimes, they flat out ban them from certain regions. Ready? Bhutan. The mystical kingdom in the Himalayas. It's stunning, spiritual, and famously not into mass tourism. Unlike most countries, Bhutan actually charges tourists a daily fee, up to $200, just for being there. Why? Because they want to protect their culture and environment from being overrun. And guess what? Tourists from the US, UK, and Canada often top the list of visitors they're trying to limit. Bhutan's message is clear: we're not here to entertain you. Respect our way of life, or don't come at all. It's less hate, more controlled access. But still, the vibe is, don't get too comfortable, Westerner. So there you have it, 10 countries that secretly don't like tourists from the US, UK, and Canada. Some dislike the noise, some the entitlement, some the environmental destruction, and some just all of it. But hey, don't take it personally. Travel isn't about being loved everywhere you go. It's about learning, respecting, and sometimes, realizing you're the problem. So next time you're abroad, remember, you're not just representing yourself. You're representing your whole country. Make it a good look. If you enjoyed this list, smash that like button like a tourist smashing gelato on a hot Italian street, subscribe for more brutally honest travel documentaries, and drop a comment. Which country do you think dislikes Western tourists the most? Until next time, travel smart, stay humble, and don't feed the pigeons in Venice. Seriously. Don't.